Things not working for you? Don't worry, they've not been working for me either. Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and this one's going to be a bit of a downer. But I want to talk a little bit about why your event dungeon is probably not working as well as you might like it to. So one of the things that I have been looking for is I was really hoping to make an event dungeon video with the team that I was going to be using for Event Dungeon Stage 30. And, well, that has not happened. And there's plenty of reasons why that has not happened, but the biggest of which is, and we can certainly go and take a look at it right here, I have not actually beaten Stage 30, which you can kind of see over here. So why have I not beat Stage 30? Well, honestly, my Stage 29 and my Stage 28 teams are also not even 100%. And I've tried regearing them, I've tried changing the champions out, I've tried redoing all the champions. It's just not working. And I finally figured out why it has not been working for me, despite the fact that I've got the gear that I've seen other YouTube creators work on. I've seen the setups they're working on. I've seen the champions. In some cases, I've got better champion setups for some of these. It's just not working for me, and we'll talk a little bit about why, and then we'll talk about how I'm handling it and how I'm kind of running the dungeon in general. So first of all, we're going to try stage 30 here, and I'll certainly show you what happens. This is my stage 27 through 30 team. So I've been trying the Euros strategy because I figured, I would love to use Euros. I think it's a very accessible champion because while yes, I do understand a lot of you guys have not unlocked him in the Doom Tower, he is a free to unlock in hard Doom Tower champion, which means that in theory, once you're starting to do most of the secret rooms in hard Doom Tower, he only takes 6 months to unlock if you're doing all the secret rooms, give or take. And obviously, since you're going to start this particularly early, it might be the first year or year and a half, but anyone who's been playing the game for more than a year and a half to 2 years got a good chance to have gotten Euros at least. And if you don't, well, maybe you're just not focusing on Doom Tower that much. And that's fine. If you're having fun, that's fine. But Euros is actually a really good champion, and Euros kit makes this very interesting. So what he does that I like for this is basically he gives out poisons much like a Taragi the Frog. And if I don't try this strategy with Taragi the Frog, and I'll talk to you about it a little bit later, but he throws out poisons when he's attacked for 2 turns. Sometimes they actually go out for 3 turns if you've got the right mastery on him as well. I find that to be particularly helpful. And whenever he's attacked under Strengthen, 50% chance of placing a poison provoked for 1 turn if somebody else was attacked as well. So every time those poisons proc, he gets 5% more max HP, maximum of 50% more max HP for him. He also can destroy max HP, but he does not do it against bosses, which honestly is very unfortunate because he's good for the Scarab boss. But if he were to destroy max HP against bosses, that would actually make him even better against the Scarab boss. But he's still a very good champion, a very usable champion for the Scarab boss. I've been using him in hard faction wars recently because he does have an AoE stun, I believe in the A2. He's got some ally protection as well. If you're certainly still struggling in Clan Boss, he can be a good replacement for a Taragi. He is certainly better than Taragi overall. He's strengthened, being very helpful to reduce damage, and he gets a shield on the A1. He's really well designed to solo the Scarab boss, but it actually is kind of a fun build to be able to build him for here. And if we take a look at my build, he's super tanky. He's got about 120k HP. He's got 3.85k defense. He's about 230, 250 speed, and he's got enough accuracy to land debuffs. Doesn't have a lot of resistance, but that's fine. He doesn't need a lot of resistance because pretty much other than for the very first time, I will have him use his ally protection and strengthen so that I have extra buffs for Seer to make sure I absolutely kill everybody in the ads. Other than that, he's only using his A1, which is why I've even got emergency heal on him to give him, he's got only getting that shield, which give him extra HP, but he's then getting extra healing from that shield. But why doesn't it work? Well, let's go take a look. We'll do the run. Euros over here in the little corner right by my head. And it's, how far we get is kind of hit or miss. But, he run here, we get all the ads up there. She is going to absolutely nuke everybody. And look at that. He's dead. I cannot keep him alive. He is almost getting one-shot by that AoE. He heals back up with the relic, but he doesn't heal back up enough, and he still dies. Why am I having this problem? Well, it all goes to the boss's passive. So if we go here, we'll add a team. That's fine. Boss has this wonderful passive called Almighty Strength. Actually, that's not the right one. It is the Awakened Weakness. The Awakened Weakness here decreases the damage inflicted by the boss for each awakening level on the champion. 2.5% for levels 1 and 2, and 5% for levels 3 through 6, stacks up to 25%. So as a 1-star blessing, I have 2.5% damage resistance. If I got a 2-star blessing, it would be 5% damage resistance. If I had a 3-star blessing, it becomes 15% damage resistance. Now, if you looked at how much damage I took, 15% would be quite enough to bump him over to 50%, which would mean he would be taking less damage, and then the boss would continue to hit him, and he would continue to take less damage. Therefore, his healing would be much more important. And what's happening for me on anybody that I try to make solo the boss is the champions that we're supposed to use to solo the boss that do a very good job of soloing the boss, I don't have a lot of 3-star or higher blessings on. So I have been able to do almost any of the strategies that we have, partially because I haven't been able to put the gear up, which, to be fair, level 30 is a gear check, but it is also an awakening check. So if you are struggling with any other content creators, and there's some great ones out there. I know Bronco's been doing a great job. I saw Soul Saint did a good video on it recently. I know Hell Hades has done some stuff. I know Nubs has done some stuff on it. I know Ash has talked about it a little bit. I've seen Drock talk about it. You know, there's a lot of great content creators in Raid, a lot of smart people, and a lot of really good teams. One of the things that some of them may or may not tell you, and I'm not trying to call them out on any of this here, I'm just trying to let you guys know why you might be struggling. This awakened weakness is the biggest issue that you're probably going to face. The higher up you go, the more important this damage reduction is to making sure that you are able to clear the boss. So if you're struggling with the boss, if you're struggling at a level you think you should have no problem with, well, then maybe that's the problem. So what I have actually been doing is I've just been farming 27, because for 27, I don't need this much power against the boss. So what I've been using is I've been using Geomancer in place of Mithrala because I don't need the extra buffs. I like Lazarius because Lazarius puts up the block buffs, which can help a little bit first early on to make sure that they don't get anything like an unkillable that could be a problem. And he puts out this, he has the speed aura as well. The speed aura is actually really the big reason I like to use him, but I have him do his block debuffs and his block buffs here, and he strips a bunch of buffs off as well, which can be nice. Lydia does her A2 right here, pretty simple. Seer does her karma burn, and then generally the boss will kill almost everybody here. Geomancer is fast enough that before Seer does her thing, he puts up his Quicksand Grasp. Sometimes he lives long enough because I've got him in a tanky-ish build, and you can see I do have a 6-star soul for Geomancer. Well, you know, so he sometimes will survive for a little bit and then put the Quicksand Grasp up again. In that case, that goes really quickly. If not, Urust still puts up his buffs to make sure Seer kills everybody, and then goes to his A1 where he puts his shield up and makes sure he heals himself. And if I run that, you know, still the same amount of energy, so I certainly would prefer to be running 30, but at 27, I have never failed with this particular team here. So we kill everybody else, the boss goes, the boss is going to absolutely nuke everybody, and Geomancer is going to be doing some damage. So then these guys didn't all die with that particular burst, which lets you know how much of a difference it is between level 27 and level 30 as far as the damage goes here. But eventually the boss is going to kill absolutely everybody. If Geomancer can get the burns up on her one more time, like right there, before she does her big AoE attack, we'll almost have the boss killed and we're good to go. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But she should be getting a turn here for a second. This should actually be the finishing wipe for the rest of the team for the most part. There we go. Didn't wipe everybody, so it only took 52 seconds. So that's actually a record. That's pretty good. So that is kind of where I have been at with this event. And I like the Euros team because for me, I didn't have to re-gear a bunch of champions for this. My Lazarius is the Lazarius build I'm using for Arena. He's the fastest on this team. He's a little over 300. He's got some damage on him, but he has enough accuracy to land his debuffs, and he brings a good aura. Lydia is my Lydia. I did rebuild her for this. She's now in 9-piece Fury. She's fast enough to go second. She's got enough accuracy. I can certainly show you the stats here as well, and I'm going to sell that because I don't keep the 5-star stuff generally. Seer is Seer. She's built a nuke. Geomancer is built with enough accuracy as well as a decent amount of speed, and I think he is in regen and immortal. So let's go take a look at the champs here quickly. Recently used. So here's my Lazarius build. Nothing super exciting. I don't have him in lethal because I couldn't get him fast enough. Again, you're looking for the accuracy. He does ignore some resistance. The accuracy is good for what he needs, but honestly, half of what I'm looking for him for is that block debuff buff, so I don't get burned to death as well. Lydia here, she is, 283 speed, 515 accuracy, again, 9-piece feral. I do have her at full crit rate, but not a lot of crit damage. If I wanted her to survive more, I certainly could put a different set of gloves on her. The reason she's on low crit damage is because I use her as my chimera target for the ram form. And if I put more crit damage on her, then suddenly I would have a problem with her being attacked, or not her being attacked, but I have a problem with my reviver Elva being attacked because Elva would have the lowest crit damage then. So right now this is tuned for mostly making sure that I don't die against the ram form, and I don't mind her getting locked into duel with the ram form because I want her fearing the ram anyway. So Eurast, as I said, I've got him super tanky. I do like having a revenge ring here because that means you're going to get an A1 attack regularly. We've got enough pinpoint gear and immortal and regeneration to make sure that he is surviving. As I said, 120k HP, 3.5k defense, good speed, good accuracy. He might be overbuilt for this, but again, my problem has been that he's been too easy to get killed with only the 1-star soul. The other thing that is super important is this golden elixir, and I actually found I had to get this to level 12 to even be able to survive regularly against stage 7, 27, 28, 29 at all. So the higher level this is, the more health you heal with this. You see, this is a 6% heal, a 16% heal. It was a 14% heal. Doesn't sound like much, but when you're relying on that to keep it alive, that extra little percentage matters. And that's why, again, the soul stuff matters as well. Geomancer is in regen and immortal. Keep him alive. He's got good speed. Again, I totally understand that these stats are unreal, and the stats you need for the high-end boss are unreal, but this is what I've been running for. And some of this, to be fair, I've been struggling to get people that are talking about getting 90k HP in similar gear with enough accuracy. I just haven't been able to find the gear to do that, or at least the gear I'm willing to strip off other champions that I'm using in other areas. So maybe that's a me issue. Maybe that's me not willing to put my best gear on champions like Geomancer, where yes, they're going to be useful to farm what I want to farm, but I don't want to break other teams that I use regularly, like my Hydra teams or my Chimera teams or something like that as well. And so maybe that speaks to me a little bit. I don't know. Finally, we've got Seer here. Seer is built, this is pretty much the same Seer build I've been using for a while since the first event dungeon. 245 speed, 343 crit damage, and she's got some accuracy, so she can rip buffs off of the enemy, which is nice, but that's not the key component of it here. And then again, I've got the Talon. I actually had to put the Talon or Cat's Gaze on Seer to make sure she was killing everybody as well, which lets you know how gross these waves are and this boss is. The fact that I needed the Talon or Cat's Gaze to let my Seer with a 6-star crushing rend with this much crit rate actually be able to nuke through and kill the waves. Now, you could certainly use Merciless gear. That gives you 35%, I believe, instead, if you have 6 pieces of Merciless. I haven't found that I wanted to put my Merciless on my Seer, because as much as Seer is important, I much rather would put them on some of my Arena Nukers if I have that good gear. So that's kind of where I've been at with this particular team. I do want to revisit the team on my alt, just because I've had to change it just a little bit, and it was not quite 100% beforehand, and now it seems to be 100%. So I just kind of want to show you that one again just a little bit. Are you looking for one of the best ways to start a brand new raid account, either just a second one to play a different challenge or something like that, or are you just looking for a brand new one to share raid with your friends or family or anyone else? Or maybe you just thought raid was actually an amazing game and want to give it a try. Well, use my link down below. Get yourself a free legendary Elenarl, an amazing poisoner and burner, brings a ton of damage, brings a ton of utility, will help your account a ton. And once you get out of the tutorial, you'll get her. At level 15 of the account, you will get yourself a Thane, who is an amazing clan boss damage dealer and brings a ton of other debuffs as well as an epic. And finally, at level 30, get yourself a Mausoleum Mage, an amazing supporter who has heals and cleanses and buffs and will bring all kinds of extra cool things to your team. All you need to do is use the link down below. If you're downloading this on an Android or iOS device, just make sure it's a device that has never played Raid before. Download the link and you should get to be good to go. Just make a new account and you are all set. If you're doing this on PC, all you need to do is you can either uninstall or log out of every account on your Polarium Play, then create a new account online with the link using a brand new email, download and run the installation. It will put your account on your system automatically, and boom, there you go. Finish the tutorial, there's your LNRL, have fun playing Raid Shadow Legends. It's an awesome way to start. It helps support me, it helps support the community, and it's a great way to get into a great game. Okay, so here is my accessible stage 20 team, and we talked about this before. And I actually got called out for using Fabian and Geomancer, which I found pretty hilarious. And to be fair, I understand why people may think Fabian is a pay-to-win champion or something like that. I don't know. He was a recent fusion, and this account is about 155 or 160 days old at this point in time. About 155. And I already have Fabian. I did him with the fusion. Very free-to-play accessible champion. Aotor, recently given away free-to-play champion. Monkey King, well, he was a free-to-play champion for a lot of people very early on, and he was a free-to-play champion for new players starting if you use the Monkey King code. So there are plenty of people that are new in the game that still have the Monkey King. Geomancer, he's an epic. Epics are considered accessible for most people. I understand that not everybody actually has every epic, and there are plenty of guys out there that would love a Geomancer and don't have him. And for you, I am absolutely sorry. But he is an epic champion, which means you can pull him from ancient shards at a reasonable enough rate that at some point in time you play the game long enough, you will get a Geomancer just like you will get every other affinity epic at some point in time. It just may take you a long time depending on your account. So it's an option. And it's a good option. So this, I think, is one of the better teams out there. Part of the thing I think is nice about Sun Wukong versus other damage dealers in this team is that if he dies, he will revive himself. So I'm not relying on Artor to necessarily revive him all the time. Although Artor does revive him sometimes, which works fairly well because Artor's got the ally attack on that A1 as well. If you don't have a Sun Wukong, but you have the rest of this team, any damage dealer will work in this spot. Although generally you're going to want a tankier damage dealer if you can, so that they don't die. And you're probably going to want a spirit or a force damage dealer just to make sure that you are not going to be having weak hits against the boss themselves. Plus, it will also mess with targeting if you have a magic champion, because your magic champion will often not target the boss, which means you might kill the ads a little bit quicker. So for the team setup for here, this one's actually kind of important. Fabian just does his thing and he'll lead off with a Spectral Flourish. This keeps a bunch of stuff stripped off. This also locks out all the ads. Very, very helpful. He gets the extra turn sometimes as well, which means he can then petrify one of the ads, which is actually great because it helps keep them alive while putting fear up at everyone else. Great for control. Part of the good reason I use him on this. It helps to have him fully booked. If he's not fully booked, he'll still work, but fully booked would be better. Artor. Again, my Artor is not fully booked. I've got 4 turn cooldowns here instead of 5 turn cooldowns. Or I wish that these were actually 3 turn cooldowns. That would make a huge difference, particularly this thing right here. That Strengthen is doing a lot of heavy lifting, keeping everybody alive. So if this was booked, it would be a better team. Same with this. If this was booked, I could revive people just a little bit faster, would be very helpful as well. So Wukong, I have him waiting on this because I want this block buffs to get placed and I want him to steal buffs. But Ugo is going to place that ahead of time. So this generally means I almost always have block buffs up, which generally helps with the fight overall. So that's why I run it the way I do. And I didn't want him to start with the Staff of Wonder, because if I have him start with the Staff of Wonder, he will actually sheep one of the enemies, which means that Fabian then can't lock them out sometimes, or other issues may happen where that person that got sheeped comes back and then is not controlled, and that's a problem. So I found that this was a better way to go. This made sure that I had enough damage that by the time he hit somebody with the Staff of Wonder, they were actually ready to die, and he did some extra damage to everybody involved. Geomancer, I turn off his Creeping Petrify, because if I didn't turn off his Creeping Petrify, he would actually steal the taunt from the boss, which meant that they would target him. That's not really what I want my Geomancer to be doing. He is not a tank. He is just there to do this Quicksand Grasp and occasionally the Tremor Staff. Now, he does have a good blessing, so the Tremor Staff is nice because not only does it do okay AoE damage, and of course decreased accuracy doesn't suck, but also it means that he is constantly lowering their defense just a little bit so that I can slowly wear out the enemies as we go. And then finally, Ugo is just absolutely clutch because not only is she going to give the decreased defense and the block buffs, which can help control the fight and help me deal more damage, but she also has the cleanse and a chunky heal as well. And I think that's very, very critical as well. Don't have an Ugo? Another decreased defense champion would be fine. If they have a decreased attack, that would be great as well. Just Ugo, I think, is particularly well suited for this because of that healing and cleansing. Don't have a Geomancer? Well, then you're probably looking at another damage dealer of some kind instead of Geomancer. Geomancer is great, but again, you'd probably rather have somebody that's dealing some damage. Venomage is certainly another option for you because she's going to put some poisons out, which would be helpful, and she'll do some damage reduction because, you know, Geomancer has the damage reduction with the burns out that reduce the amount of damage everyone takes a little bit. So you get something similar with a Venomage, so the Venomage would be another interesting option instead of Geomancer. Not that poisons are going to work super long term, but poisons can slowly help work on the boss, so that's an option for you as well. Otherwise, another damage dealer. Again, with Sun Wukong, any direct damage dealer should be fine. With Artor is great. Syl is actually a really good replacement for Artor, and in fact, I think Syl may be better for this team than Artor because Syl offers the passive healing of her passive to everybody on the team, and she has the AoE stun, which is another way you can help control the waves as well. Plus, she plus the extra decreased speed and decreased turn meter on the A1, so she can possibly help you control from that end as well. So I think overall, Syl may actually be a better person than Artor. And then finally, again, Fabian. Well, you know, you don't have a Fabian. Some other way to AoE stun, AoE lockout, very helpful overall. That's the type of thing you're looking for. It's basically control the waves so that I can keep some of them kind of alive long enough while doing damage to the boss enough times to eventually have the boss die. And if the boss doesn't die before he transforms, he's at least very weak when he transforms, so I can finish him off in that transform state. So that is kind of how I target this one. I can do a quick run for that one here. Although it'd be quick, this runs between 2 to 4 minutes. But as you can see, we got the lockdown. We already have Achak the Wanderer his controlled as well. And that's part of the problem. You want to make sure that Achak is controlled because Achak will put up block debuffs, which can make it very hard to control the fight. Now, we do have the Unkillable that came out there on one of these bosses because apparently Ugo didn't land it on everybody, but that's fine. I'm not too worried about killing the ads occasionally. We just didn't want it up against absolutely everybody because that can be a bit of a problem. So, you know, and then Fabian strips it back off. Same with Sun Wukong, can strip a bunch of stuff back off. As you can see, we are doing a chunk of damage here. You know, she gets the shields up, definitely a little frustrating. But overall, we're kind of controlling the fight and staying mostly alive, other than my Sun Wukong, who is definitely very squishy. But because he revives himself, he gets super squishy as well. And as you can see, Artor revived him, and he got an A1 attack out there as well. So, you know, it's not fast. It is not a sexy team, but for an account that is so low a level, this lets me farm level 20, which is going to be super, super great for my ability to get pinpoint gear on future champions. And I'm going to farm this as much as I can on this account while building out everybody else, because pinpoint gear is probably one of the biggest things that made a difference for me winning the Hell Hades challenge on this account. And pinpoint gear is definitely one of the most powerful sets in the game, particularly because of how well it scales because of the extra stats you get from it. So I'll have my editor flash forward to the end of this, and you can certainly see how much time this takes. I'm guessing this is probably going to be another 1.5 to 2 minutes. So we're here wrapping up at the end here. As you can see, the boss is down. 4 minutes, 29 seconds. As I said, it was going to take a long time. The best this has ever done has been 2 minutes. It really does depend. Without targeting the boss, sometimes they decide to pick off some of the ads as well before they finally pick up the boss. Generally what happens is Atoth the Burner here. So if I go to edit the team, we get this dude right here. Akoth, that's what it is. He tends to last the longest because, again, I've got a lot of magic champions here, or spirit champions and force champions, but my damage dealers are generally spirit champions, so he tends to last around the longest because Sun Wukong doesn't like to attack him and weak hits him pretty regularly. And as a result, generally we whittle the team down, and once we whittle it down to just the two of them, they tend to focus on the boss, especially because the boss will taunt and make herself a better target, and we whittle down her, and then eventually we still kill Akoth with instant incidental damage, and she transforms, and then she finishes herself off, usually with Geomancer, or we do the finishing job with Sun Wukong. So again, it works fairly well. It is a long run, but again, for an account that I'm not doing speed runs on any of the dungeons, that's fine. As long as it's 100%, and it's been 100%. I think maybe it's failed once since I did some little bit of tweaking with Ator. The one thing I did do with Ator, just to kind of show you the builds on these champions as well. Ator, I did put him, he's in Relentless because I happen to have some really fast Relentless on him. That is not necessarily important, although that does help him heal everybody else because he gets extra AoE healing with that A1. But also getting him a little bit of this Immortal has just given him a little bit of extra survivability. And then, you know, getting him fast, the 265, 270-ish speed he's got right here. He doesn't need accuracy. He doesn't need resistance. He doesn't need any damage. You just want him fast and tanky. And that's kind of how I have him built right here. My Fabian, reasonably fast. This was working fine when my Fabian was 5 stars. So you don't even need this banner here that I've got. That's an HP banner, so it's not even that great. So he was fine when he was only 260 to 255 speed. Now that he's closer to 280, I certainly, you know, like the team built better. My Sun Wukong is in Savage. I've got a Malefic Talon on him as well. You could certainly put a Cat's Gaze on him if you've got a Cat's Gaze. That will certainly help. The more damage that he is built for, the faster this will probably go. The only thing you do have to worry about is if he decides to kill one of the ads instead and kills all the ads before you're kind of ready to soak up the main boss, and the main boss might kill you. So, you know, him being an okay-ish build seems to work for this team. A better build will do more damage, however. Geomancer, not particularly exciting. He's 225 speed, 350 accuracy in generic gear. Nothing really exciting there. And that's all for what it is. If we go include the Master Vault here, we can show you my Ugo as well. Ugo, again, is almost 250 speed, 350 accuracy. Not super exciting. And again, this is another dungeon, as we talked about before, where having these blessings helps a lot. So you'll see I've got a 3-star blessing on Artor, I've got a 3-star on Fabian, I've got a 2-star on Sun Wukong, a 3-star on Ugo, and a 2-star on Geomancer. And that generally has helped to keep them alive. That 3-star really seems to be the best way to go. Now, again, it's hard for me to get a 3-star blessing on a Sun Wukong, and if I didn't use Sun Wukong, I would probably use Alice just because she is built for better damage, and she's kind of tanky with that 5-star blessing. And Brimstone helps a lot too. So it's nice to have Brimstone on somebody that they can land that Brimstone and get you some additional help with, you know, doing damage against the boss. So, you know, Sun Wukong doesn't land it too often, and when he does land it, sometimes it's on the ad, so it doesn't help much. But it's nice to have when you can because it's extra damage. So there we are. That's what I've been using for the event teams. They're not great. They're not necessarily the most original teams out there. You know, I got some ideas from just talking with other people. I got some ideas that I wanted to try. Unfortunately, a lot of the ideas that I had didn't work out better than the ones that I've been using here. Definitely the free-to-play one is definitely a very original team. I have not seen anybody really use that type of team before, but outlining the basics, for the most part, almost every part there is swappable in some way, shape, or form. You're just looking for a combination of some decent control and a decent way to keep the enemies from attacking you constantly. You want a little bit of a cleanse to make sure you're healing. You want to make sure you're keeping everybody topped up. And overall, you're just kind of looking for enough damage to hopefully kill the boss before, at least mostly kill the boss before you die from the rest of the ads, or before you kill all the other ads so that the boss then transforms and just absolutely annihilates you. So hopefully that's been helpful for you guys, and hopefully that kind of helps you if you've been struggling figuring out why the teams that you see other content creators make aren't working. There's a good chance you don't have the blessings, and you know what? That's fine. Run Iron Twins. Iron Twins is a great dungeon. Get those blessings, pull those souls. Souls can really affect your count in a positive way. And it's not just in some of these damage dealing situations like you can see there with those passives. Keep in mind, those passives, I believe, are active on all of the hard dungeons. They are active against the Chimera as well. They are active against Amius, and I think active against some of the bosses that you can fight in Cursed City as well. So blessings continue to be an important role in the game, not just because they offer great stats and great other blessings. So, hey, if you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys found it helpful, or at least entertaining. And you know, sometimes it's nice to commiserate. If you're struggling, deal with the event dungeon, let me know down below. I'm slowly but surely expanding into feeling comfortable enough to do some takeovers on it, so we can certainly see if we can help you guys out. I do my takeovers on CatHerder pretty regularly, and I do offer paid takeover services as well. So check out the link down below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You guys are absolutely amazing. And hey, until the next video, I'm Bront CatHerder.